There comes a moment in life when we realize that holding on, whether to past mistakes, regrets, relationships, or expectations, only keeps us trapped in a cycle of exhaustion. We carry the weight of things that no longer serve us, believing that if we just try a little harder, if we just hold on a little longer, things might change. But the truth is, real freedom, real peace, comes not from holding on, but from learning how to let go. Letting go is not about giving up. It is about releasing what no longer aligns with who we are becoming. It is about choosing peace over control, surrender over struggle. One of the hardest things to let go of is the need for validation. For so much of our lives, we have been conditioned to seek approval from our parents, our friends, our communities, even strangers. We measure our worth by how much we are needed, how much we are loved, how much we are acknowledged. But in old age, there is an undeniable truth. No amount of external validation will ever fill the space inside of us that longs for self-acceptance. The moment we stop chasing approval is the moment we begin to truly live for ourselves. We realize that our worth is not tied to what others think of us, but rather to how we see ourselves. Letting go also means releasing the resentment and pain we have carried for years. We hold on to past hurts, replaying them in our minds, keeping them alive as if they have the power to change the past. But pain, when held onto, does nothing but rob us of our present. Forgiveness is not about saying that what happened was okay. It is about saying that we refuse to let it control us anymore. We cannot change what has already occurred, but we can choose to release its grip on our hearts. Imagine how much lighter we would feel if we finally let go of the weight we were never meant to carry. Another thing we must learn to release is the illusion of control. So much of our stress comes from trying to control outcomes, people, and situations that are far beyond our grasp. We believe that if we just plan better, work harder, or worry more, we can prevent disappointment or heartbreak. But life does not work that way. The more we try to control everything, the more we suffer. True peace comes when we surrender to the flow of life, trusting that what is meant for us will come and what is not will pass. Letting go of control is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is understanding that our energy is better spent on acceptance rather than resistance. And perhaps one of the most liberating things to let go of is the need to explain ourselves. We have spent so many years defending our choices, justifying our feelings, proving our worth. But at this stage in life, we no longer need to convince anyone of who we are. We do not need to explain why we walk away from toxic relationships. We do not need to justify why we choose peace over chaos. We do not need to make others understand our journey. Our truth is ours. And that is enough. There's a profound sense of power in silence, in choosing to let go of the need to be understood by those who were never meant to understand us. Letting go is a process, not a single moment. It is something we practice every day, releasing the need for control, forgiving what has hurt us, stepping away from the need to prove ourselves. And in doing so, we create space for peace. Space for joy, space for a life that is no longer weighed down by the past, but instead full of possibility for the present. Because when we let go, we are not losing anything. We are simply making room for what truly belongs to us. There is a common misconception that strength is loud, that it is found in the ability to argue, to fight, to assert dominance in every conversation. We are often taught that to be strong, we must always have the last word, always prove our point, always make sure we are heard. But real strength is not found in the noise. It is found in the stillness. It is found in the moments when we choose to say nothing, not because we have nothing to say, but because we recognize that our peace is more valuable than any argument. Silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the understanding that not every battle is worth fighting and not every opinion is worth engaging with. As we grow older, we realize that there is power in restraint. There was a time when we felt the need to defend ourselves constantly, to explain every choice, to correct every misunderstanding. But with age comes a deeper understanding that not everyone deserves a response. Not everyone is capable of seeing things from our perspective, and that's okay. Silence does not mean we are conceding defeat. It means we are choosing not to waste our energy on battles that do not serve us. The strongest people are not those who speak the loudest, but those who know when to walk away. There is immense strength in letting people believe what they want without feeling the need to convince them otherwise. Silence also allows us to observe, to understand, and to process before we react. When we are quick to speak, we often say things we don't mean, we get caught in unnecessary conflicts, and we allow our emotions to control us. But when we practice silence, we give ourselves the gift of clarity. We learn to sit with our emotions instead of reacting impulsively. We listen more than we speak, and in doing so, we gain insight that others miss. Silence gives us the space to respond rather than react, to make choices from a place of wisdom rather than impulse. It is in this stillness that true strength is cultivated. Another beautiful aspect of silence is its ability to unsettle those who thrive on conflict. People who feed off negativity, drama, and chaos expect a reaction. They want an argument, they want engagement, they want proof that they have gotten under your skin. But when you choose silence, you take away their power. There is nothing more disarming than refusing to engage with someone who is trying to provoke you. Your silence becomes your shield, a boundary that protects your peace and keeps you from being pulled into negativity. Silence is not passive. It is an active choice to rise above the noise. Beyond protecting us from unnecessary conflict, silence also deepens our connection with ourselves. In a world that is constantly demanding our attention, filling every moment with noise, distractions, and opinions, silence allows us to reconnect with our inner voice. It is in the quiet moments that we hear our own thoughts, that we recognize what truly matters to us. Silence creates space for self-reflection, for understanding, for growth. The more comfortable we become with silence, the more we learn about ourselves. And when we know ourselves deeply, we become unshakable. Silence is not just the absence of words, it is the presence of strength. It is the ability to stand in our truth without needing external validation. It is the confidence to walk away from what no longer serves us. It is the wisdom to listen more than we speak. In a world that glorifies noise, choosing silence is an act of power. It is a reminder that we do not need to prove anything to anyone. Our peace, our wisdom, and our presence speak louder than words ever could. For most of our lives, we have been taught that putting ourselves first is selfish. That if we are not constantly giving, sacrificing, and prioritizing others over ourselves, we are somehow failing as good people. But the truth is, neglecting ourselves does not make us noble. It makes us exhausted. It makes us bitter. It leaves us empty. Self-care is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of survival. It is the recognition that we cannot pour from an empty cup, that we cannot continue to give to others if we are constantly running on empty. True generosity does not come from self-sacrifice. It comes from a place of wholeness, and that wholeness begins with taking care of ourselves first. As we age, we realize that self-care is no longer optional. It is necessary. Our bodies, minds, and hearts require more attention than ever before. We are no longer in a phase of life where we can afford to neglect our well-being for the sake of pleasing others. Prioritizing rest, nourishment, and emotional balance is not a luxury. It is a responsibility. Taking time to eat well, to move our bodies, to get enough sleep, to engage in activities that bring us joy, these are not indulgences. They are essential investments in our health and happiness. The more we take care of ourselves, the better we feel, and the more we have to offer the world. Yet so many people struggle with guilt when it comes to self-care. We have been conditioned to believe that our worth is tied to how much we do for others, how much we sacrifice, how much we are willing to put ourselves last. But imagine if we started seeing self-care as a duty, not just to ourselves, but to those around us. Because when we are well rested, when we are at peace, when we feel whole, we show up better for the people we love. We become more patient, more present, more compassionate. The irony is that by taking care of ourselves first, we actually have more to give, not less. Self-care is also about setting boundaries. It is about understanding that not every request deserves a yes, that not every relationship deserves unlimited access to our time and energy. There will always be people who expect more from us, who drain us, who take without giving. But we are not here to be everything to everyone. Learning to say no is an essential part of self-care. It is the recognition that our energy is precious, that we deserve relationships that uplift us, not ones that deplete us. There is no shame in walking away from toxicity, in choosing peace over obligation. Protecting your well-being is not selfish, it is wise. Another crucial aspect of self-care is allowing ourselves to find joy without guilt. Many of us have spent years working, caregiving, and fulfilling responsibilities, often at the expense of our own happiness. But joy is not something we need to earn. It is something we deserve simply because we are alive. Whether it is spending time in nature, engaging in creative hobbies, reading, traveling, or simply enjoying a quiet cup of tea, these moments of joy are not insignificant. They are what make life beautiful. They are what keep our spirits alive. We do not need permission to prioritize what brings us happiness. We must give that permission to ourselves. At the end of the day, self-care is about self-respect. It is about recognizing our own worth, our own needs, our own well-being as something valuable. It is not a selfish act. It is a declaration that we matter, that our health, our peace, our happiness are just as important as anyone else's. The more we embrace this truth, the more we step into a life that is not just about existing, but about truly living. Self-care is not something we should feel guilty for. It is something we should unapologetically claim as our right. Saying less is not about silence for the sake of withholding, nor is it about disengaging from the world. It is about learning to choose our words with intention. There is wisdom in restraint in knowing that some battles are not worth fighting, some arguments are not worth entertaining, and some opinions do not need our validation. Many conflicts in life arise not because of what is said, but because of what is said unnecessarily. The more we practice the art of saying less, the more we realize how much energy we wasted in the past trying to prove things to people who were never willing to listen. When we say less, we give ourselves the opportunity to listen more. Most people are so focused on what they are going to say next that they rarely hear what is being said to them. But when we resist the urge to fill the silence, we begin to hear beyond words. We start to notice what is left unsaid, to observe body language, to understand the emotions behind the words. Listening is an art. And those who master it are the ones who form deeper connections, who truly understand the people around them, and who speak only when their words can add value to a conversation rather than just noise. Saying less also protects our peace. There will always be people who try to provoke us, who thrive on conflict, who want to draw us into unnecessary debates and endless explanations. But when we learn the power of saying less, we free ourselves from the need to engage. We no longer feel obligated to correct every misunderstanding, to argue every point, or to defend ourselves against those who have already made up their minds. There is strength in letting people believe what they want to believe, in walking away from discussions that do not serve us, and in choosing our peace over the need to be right. Beyond protecting our peace, saying less also allows us to communicate more effectively. When we remove the excess, our words become clearer, more direct, and more impactful. Instead of speaking in circles, we get to the heart of what truly matters. This is the secret of great leaders, wise elders, and those who command respect without raising their voices. They understand that the most powerful messages are not those that are long-winded or repetitive, but those that are simple, honest, and spoken with purpose. The right words, spoken at the right time, hold far more influence than a flood of unnecessary conversation. At its core, the beauty of saying less is about trusting that we do not need to prove ourselves with words. Our presence, our actions, and our energy say more than our voices ever could. When we embrace this truth, we stop wasting words on the unimportant and we start speaking only when it truly matters. There is no need to convince, no need to over-explain, no need to exhaust ourselves trying to be understood. Those who are meant to hear us will listen, and for the rest, silence is often the best response. There comes a point in life when we realize that we have spent too much time living according to other people's expectations. We were raised to believe that success, happiness, and fulfillment come from following a certain path, pleasing our families, meeting societal standards, and conforming to what others believe is right. But the truth is, a life lived for others is not truly lived at all. Real happiness comes when we decide to break free from these invisible chains and start living on our own terms. It is about making choices that align with who we truly are, rather than who the world expects us to be. It takes courage to walk a different path, but nothing is more liberating than finally owning our life, our decisions, and our dreams. Living on your terms means understanding that you are not responsible for making everyone else comfortable with your choices. For too long, we have been conditioned to seek approval, to worry about what people will say, to shrink ourselves so that others don't feel uneasy. But we were not put on this earth to live a life that satisfies other people's expectations at the expense of our own joy. People will always have opinions, and no matter what we do, someone will disapprove. So why not choose the life that makes you happy? When we stop living for validation, we start living for freedom, and freedom is the foundation of a life well lived. One of the most powerful realizations in life is that time is finite. The days, months, and years pass whether we live boldly or cautiously. Many people wake up one day, look back, and realize they have spent their entire existence waiting for the right moment, waiting for permission, waiting for someone else to tell them it's okay to follow their dreams. But the only permission we need is our own. The right time is always now. We do not owe anyone an explanation for why we choose peace over chaos, why we prioritize our happiness, or why we no longer sacrifice ourselves to meet unrealistic expectations. Living on our terms means recognizing that every single day is a gift, and we must use it wisely. Living for yourself does not mean being selfish. It means being authentic. When we align with our true selves, we become better, kinder, and more fulfilled individuals. A person who is at peace with their own life is more capable of giving genuine love, of inspiring others, of showing up fully in relationships. There is a difference between sacrificing out of love and sacrificing out of obligation. One fills us up, the other depletes us. When we live authentically, we attract the right people, people who respect our boundaries, who encourage our growth, and who celebrate our happiness rather than resent it. The people who love us for who we are will never require us to betray ourselves. One of the greatest acts of self-respect is saying no to things that do not align with your values. It means refusing to participate in relationships, jobs, conversations, or commitments that drain your spirit. It means letting go of toxic connections, outdated expectations, and any situation that no longer serves your well-being. Living on your terms requires setting boundaries, not to push people away, but to protect your peace. People may not always understand, and that's okay. We were not meant to be understood by everyone. The only understanding that truly matters is the one we have with ourselves. At the heart of it all, living on your terms is about reclaiming your power. It is about standing firm in your decisions, trusting yourself fully, and embracing the life that feels right for you. It is about letting go of fear, fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of disappointing others, and stepping into a life that is built around your joy, your passions, and your truth. The moment you stop apologizing for who you are and start living unapologetically, you step into a freedom that cannot be taken away. And that is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Holding on to past hurts is like carrying a heavy weight that no one else can see. We move through life with burdens that were never meant to be ours forever. Old betrayals, painful memories, unspoken words, and wounds that have yet to heal. We replay conversations, relive disappointments, and hold on to anger as if it will somehow make things right. But the truth is, clinging to pain does not change the past. It only robs us of our present. Letting go is not about erasing what happened or pretending we were never hurt. It is about choosing to no longer let those experiences define us. It is about freeing ourselves from the chains of what once was so that we can step fully into what is still possible. One of the hardest things about letting go of past hurts is the fear that if we release them, we are somehow letting the people who hurt us off the hook. We tell ourselves that holding on to the pain is a form of justice, that our anger or sadness keeps them accountable. But the reality is, our suffering does not punish them, it only punishes us. The people who hurt us have moved on, and yet we remain trapped in the emotions they left behind. Forgiveness does not mean that what happened was okay. It does not mean that we have to forget or welcome those people back into our lives. It simply means that we refuse to let their actions have power over us any longer. It is a gift we give ourselves, not them. Letting go requires us to confront our pain instead of suppressing it. Many of us believe that moving on means burying our emotions and pretending they no longer affect us. But healing does not come from avoidance. It comes from acknowledgement. We must allow ourselves to grieve the disappointments, to process the heartbreak, to feel the sadness without judgment. It is only when we face our emotions head on that we can truly release them. Pain that is ignored does not disappear. It festers. But pain that is processed makes space for growth. We do not have to stay trapped in our suffering. We can choose to heal. There is also power in rewriting the story we tell ourselves about the past. Often we replay events with the same painful narrative, reinforcing the idea that we were victims, that we were wronged, that we were powerless. But what if instead we saw those experiences as lessons? What if we chose to focus not on what was taken from us, but on what we gained? Strength, wisdom, resilience. The ability to recognize what we will never tolerate again. The past does not have to be a place of regret. It can be a place of transformation. When we change the meaning we attach to our pain, we take back control of our story. Letting go also means accepting that closure does not always come the way we expect it to. We think we need an apology, an explanation, or a final conversation to move on. But sometimes closure is simply deciding that we deserve peace, even if the person who hurt us never acknowledges what they did. It is understanding that healing does not depend on someone else's actions. It depends on our own. We do not need permission to release the past. We do not need validation to move forward. The moment we decide that our happiness is more important than our resentment, we reclaim our power. At its core, letting go of past hurts is about choosing ourselves over our pain. It is about realizing that we deserve peace more than we deserve to be right, that we deserve joy more than we deserve validation. It is a process, not a single moment, and it requires patience and self-compassion. But every time we choose to release even a little bit of that weight, we take one step closer to freedom. We cannot change what happened, but we can decide how much power it has over us. And when we finally let go, we create space for something far greater: peace, lightness, and the ability to fully embrace the life that is still waiting for us. True legacy is not measured by wealth, achievements, or public recognition. It is not about the titles we held, the possessions we accumulated, or the awards we received. Instead, the greatest legacy we can leave behind is one of inner peace, a presence that radiates calm, wisdom, and grace, even in the face of life's storms. Inner peace is not the absence of struggle, nor is it a life free of challenges. Rather, it is the ability to remain centered and grounded no matter what happens around us. It is a state of mind cultivated over years of self-reflection, acceptance, and growth. And when we embrace it fully, it becomes our most profound gift to the world, inspiring others long after we are gone.